Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us. I may be a little biased, but we have a great webinar scheduled for today, so I'm incredibly excited to jump right into it. But before we begin, I want to go through some housekeeping items to make this experience as enjoyable as possible. First, you will be joining in listen-only mode, and we will not be able to see your video, though we are sure you look great. If you do have a question, we encourage you to use the Q&A button on the bottom of the screen. Questions will be answered live, and if we run out of time, we'll make sure that your question does get answered after the webinar. We are recording this webinar, and we'll make the slide deck available to you after the session, so you can share this with anyone that was not able to attend. And finally, there is a brief survey at the end. We would love to hear your feedback to continue to bring you value-add content that focuses on your practice and, of course, retirement goals. Without further ado, allow me to introduce myself and the rest of our panelists today. My name is Justin Gollin, and I am a Regional Vice President of Sales for the ABA Retirement Funds Program. I'm happy to be co-hosting this webinar with Senior Vice President at CBIZ, Martin Bell. Martin will facilitate the Q&A session following the presentation. Together, we specialize in financial well-being, providing the tools and support to help the legal community reach their retirement goals. Martin?
Thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of our retirement team at CBIZ, we're very pleased to partner with the ABA Retirement Funds Program in hosting Gary today.
Thank you, Martin. And just to reiterate that, we are certainly pleased, and it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter today, attorney success coach Gary Miles. Gary is a seasoned law practitioner for over 4 decades, spending his career in litigation and more recently, family law. His diverse experience includes being a trial lawyer, managing partner, author, leader, podcaster, coach, and entrepreneur. Having experienced the pressures inherent in the legal profession, Gary is deeply committed to helping his clients find fulfillment in their own practice. Today, Gary will provide you with his own experience that allowed him to regain his time and share the productivity system that every lawyer needs. With great pleasure, please let us welcome Gary Miles.
Justin and Martin, thank you both so very, very much, and I'm really honored to be here. Next slide, please. Have you all ever experienced this? That day when you're sitting in your office, working like crazy, feverishly, it's now pitch dark, you're not home, your head's in your hands, you're stressed and overwhelmed, and you wonder where the hours went. Could you put up the first poll, please? You're so exhausted, wondering where the time went. How could you work so hard, had those things you meant to get done, and they just never got done, and you wonder where your time went? Next slide, please. I'm Gary Miles, and I've been practicing for 40 years. Started in 1978, actually. I've been an attorney in Maryland. I managed my own firm. I did litigation my whole career, personal injury, family law, and different kinds. Interesting poll result. 100% of you have felt exhausted at the end of the day and didn't know where your time went. Well, we're going to give you an answer to that today. I spent 30 years as a managing partner in my firm, and I struggled with this various topic. I did not work in a firm where we had hourly minimums, where I had to account to anybody. I ran my own firm, but I also was responsible for bringing the revenue to pay for our staff and our associates. And I found so often that I went through exactly what I asked you about. I'd worked so hard, I felt like I went from one to the other without a breath. And at the end of the day, I look at my timesheet and I didn't know what I had done. It wasn't clear to me. And when I put the system into place, I went from billing 4 hours a day to almost hitting 10 hours every day easily and feeling refreshed at the end and really accomplishing my projects. Next slide, please. This is what I hope to do today. By the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you a concrete map to reclaim your time and increase your productivity. I'm going to give you the exact system that transformed my practice and that I've used with a dozen attorneys I coach who've had the same struggle. And for those of you who work in a practice where you record time and are accountable for the amount of time you record and bill, this will be very helpful. But if you work in personal injury or estate planning and you struggle with productivity, it will be helpful as well. I'm going to give you steps. You're actually going to have homework, steps you're going to have to implement tonight. I'm going to give you a sustainable approach that works with the realities of our practice, where interruptions happen all the time, clients call an emergency, the court calls, you know the drill. Next slide, please. The real issue that we encounter is what I call the mystery of missing hours that we talked about a little bit earlier. You work 60, 70 hours a week, but you look at your timesheet and you're trying to figure out why you only billed 25 hours when you work 60 or 70. That the billable hours are just too low. And there's a real disconnect between how hard you worked and the results, both in terms of output, how much you got done, and your billable time, which is your source of revenue. And you wonder, what happened? Where did it go? And you're exhausted and you have no explanation for how you could possibly have worked so hard, gotten so little done, billed so little time. And at the end of the week, you feel like you're right back where you started with the same big project that you meant to do that week, still hanging over your head. Next slide, please. The trouble is we have an illusion of busyness. And I've written and talked about this before. We wear busyness like a badge of honor. I'm so busy, like that's something to be proud of. But what busyness is a work pattern where we're just reacting to circumstances that are presented to us. Whatever comes our way, that call, that email, that piece of mail, the pleading that was electronically sent to us, all of a sudden we're changing and we're reacting to that. We're constantly being interrupted to take phone calls, to answer emails. Our paralegal has a question. A client calls, it could be anything, but we're always interrupting what we're doing and switching from the task we meant to get done to the one that presents itself to us. And we're always feeling like we're putting out fires that might be real or imagined. But what we're going to work to today is a productive way of handling our work. We're going to have deliberate work patterns. By that, I mean intentional, purposeful. We're going to decide what we're going to work on. We're going to have protected time in our day where we can focus doing that deep work. If you're a transactional lawyer, that means drafting that complicated M&A agreement that takes so much time and so much attention, or beginning to draft your answer to the motion for summary judgment if you're a litigator, whatever it might be. We're going to prioritize what we want to do. We're going to make strategic decisions about how we want to spend our time, and we're going to plan our time proactively. Next slide, please. I reached my breaking point when I realized how much time I was losing daily to those quick tasks. That simple email I'm answering, that quick call, my paralegal popped her head in the door and asking me a quick question. It's unbelievable how much time we lose to those interruptions, probably about 25% of your day. Next slide, please. And part of the problem is, and I find this with lawyers that I coach, they work so hard and they don't know where their time went. Have you ever worked a 10+ hour day, but only billed 4 to 5 hours? And could you display poll 2, please? And you wonder, where did your day go? And I ask my coaching clients that, where they tell me they work so hard, they didn't get anything done, they're so busy. I'm like, tell me this, what did you do during the day? I'm not sure. I just work so hard. And they literally don't know how much time they spent doing billable time or non-billable time or administrative or wasting time looking at the internet, that they don't know. And so this is the solution. And it might seem intrusive. It might seem too particular, but I encourage you to spend 2 weeks where you literally track every single thing you do during the day. I have a little tool I use, and Justin and Martin can remind me to send it to them so they can send it out to you. But track everything you do during the day. And you're going to find so much. You're going to find where your time is spent, where your time is wasted, and whether it's consistent with what you wanted to do. Track everything, not just your billable record. Keep a complete chronological record of your day. And you may say, I don't have the time for that. But the reality is, if you spend 15 minutes working on something, it'll take you 7 or 8 seconds to write down that you did that. And when you get to the end of the day, you'll find exactly how you spent your time. And it's so illuminating. It'll give you a complete picture. Every phone call, every email, every coffee break, whatever you might have done. And why do we do this? Well, we do a couple reasons. You will identify where you have wasted time and where your time went. And you will be able to come up with a new way of working so that doesn't happen. And there'll be a real gap between how you really spent your time and how you think you spent it. Next slide, please. What happens is we have what I call invisible time thieves. We waste time due to so many things that we don't ever think about. The first is switching from one task to another. If you're working on something and you answer that email, when you go back to your original project, you will have lost your place. You have lost where you were mentally, what you're planning on doing, what you're thinking about writing. All that is lost. And I've heard people say you lose 23 minutes every time you switch. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how you ever figured that out. To me, that number seems high, but it's a really big amount of time you miss when you switch from what you're doing to something else. And you'll find that you lose 2 to 3 billable hours daily that you may have forgotten to record, or you thought about something but didn't write down what it was, what you're working on. 23 minutes to refocus after interruptions. You also find that you had billable time that you didn't bill, and you switch from one thing to another. There's nothing worse than multitasking. What that means is we're doing a terrible job on 2 things without really having good focus on either one. And you also find that you're reacting. Everyone else is controlling your time, whether it's people asking questions, the quick interruption, the quick email, the quick phone call. Everyone is interrupting you and your time is being wasted. Next slide, please. So what we're going to go back to, please. There we are. We're going to find out where your time really goes. And this is kind of the principle that I want you to think about. Productivity is not about working harder. You all work so hard. We all work so hard as lawyers. It's about working deliberately, with intention and with purpose. And I know how many times I hear people say, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. But the reality is we all have 24 hours a day. And it's up to us how we choose to use that time. And the reason I want you to become aware of how your time's spent is when you look at those sheets where you wrote down how you spent your time for 2 weeks, is that how you want to spend your time? And if not, we're going to come up with a purposeful plan where you can choose how to use your time. Before, this is what it looked like. You're reacting to everything. You're responding to every single interruption. You had no clear priorities. You felt completely out of control, and you're really working by chance. Others in your life were controlling what you did during the day. But when we work more purposefully, you will be intentionally allocating your time. You'll be setting priorities for what you want to work on that day. You'll be planning proactively how you're going to spend your time, and you're going to have a strategic approach to what you do. And it's all be cushioned with time for those interruptions that are bound to pop up. Next slide, please. So this is a system that really worked for me. And I've used it with the clients I coach, the other busy lawyers I coach, and it's really worked for them. And it composed of 3 components: our evening power planning, our morning victory formula, and my triangle system of file management. Next slide, please. In the evening, I'm going to ask that you spend 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the day. What usually happens at the end of the day? Well, with me, I can't speak for you. With me, I get that call from that lawyer. He'd be so annoying and frustrating. I hang up the phone and just say, I'm done. I'm late to get home. I'm out of here. That was how my day used to end. And I take that stress home with me. But this is how we're going to end the day. we're going to plan in the evening what we're going to do the next morning. We're going to review our list of things we have to get done. We're going to draw priorities, and we're going to review tomorrow with perspective. What's the most important thing for us to get done? We're going to evaluate our work, understand our priorities, and get them scheduled. We're actually going to plan our day to the point of saying from 8:30 to 10, I'm working on this file. From 10 to 10:30, I'm returning phone calls. You're going to block out your calendar for what you're going to work that day, and you're blocking an hour for reacting to other things that pop up. You're going to gather what you need to get done tomorrow, and you're going to mentally prepare yourself that tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do when I come in. And the result is you'll have no more chaotic mornings or days where you're reacting. You'll start your day with intention and focus. I didn't do this in the beginning. I go into the office, it's like, well, what should I do now? What should I do next? And instead, we're going to have an actual plan of what you're going to do tomorrow. Next slide, please. And this is one of the most important things. I used to always say, I'm getting ready to get ready. I'd have that big project I'd have to work on. So I did litigation, might be answering a motion for summary judgment. I didn't want to do it. It was difficult. Might be scary. I'd be worried about the results. And I would keep putting it off. I'd put it off by saying, I'm going to clean up my desk before I could get started on that, answering that motion for summary judgment. And what would happen? I'd have 15 days to answer it, and all of a sudden 12 days are gone. And now I feel stressed and I'm frustrated. I've never done it. So this is what you're going to do tomorrow. You're going to find that one file that stresses you the most, the one you've been putting off, the one maybe for the client you don't like quite as much, the one that causes you the most stress or the most fear, the hardest file, whatever it is, whatever's that one file you've not been getting to yet. And tomorrow morning, you're going to do that first. You're going to work at it from whatever time you get to the office for 75 to 90 minutes. 8:30 to 10, you're going to tackle that biggest challenge. And why are we going to do that? That's when your mind is the freshest. You're not frustrated yet. You're full of energy. Your mind, you had a good night's sleep. Your mind is fresh and clear. You're going to get that file done that you've been putting off for weeks, and you're going to feel great. It's going to be a success. It's going to be a win. And then you're going to be enthused to get on with the rest of your day because you've already accomplished something that you've been putting off for a week or two. It'll give you confidence. And by 10, you have that work done, or a lot of it done. If it takes 10 hours, don't work on for 10 hours, work on for an hour and a half. But you made a lot of progress. And I know for me, once I got started on something, then I was rolling. I just had a hard time getting started. And it really is a game changer. Instead of easing into the day by looking at emails, maybe scrolling the internet, seeing, how your football team did or what they say about the Ravens game Sunday night. Instead of that, you go attack your most demanding work when your energy is the highest. So often we waste that first hour of the day. Next slide, please. And the next thing we want to do is what I call a triangle system of file management. The first step is pre-work review, checking our case management system, reviewing our communications, preparing what we need, and setting our objectives. Next file, please. Next slide. And what happens often is we start working on files, we're rushed, we don't spend much time on it, we get interrupted, and we don't record good notes, we don't set a calendar item, and we're going to really have focused work on our files. And it takes just a couple minutes in the beginning to do this. And it's all billable. It's all productive work for your clients. First, you're going to review the file in detail in your case management system. Look at the last couple emails that came through. Look at your last couple notes. If it's a pleading, maybe check the status of pleadings. Reviewing the emails and the calls and your notes will bring you up to speed on exactly where the file is. And of course, you may remember all your files from soup to nuts. It depends on the volume of practice, but you may not have. A quick review of the system, your emails, your calls, and your notes can be very helpful. Then you know what you're going to do on the file. Get handy everything you need to do it. If there's a document you need to look at, get that up on your other screen. Whatever it is you need to work on that file, have it at hand. And then set a mental goal for what you're going to do when you work on that file. So we've reviewed the file, we have everything there, and we've set a plan of what we're going to what we're going to do. And that eliminates all those interruptions. I got to find something, and you have the context of what you're doing before you dive in. You won't have to rework it, or you won't fail to see something important. Next slide, please. And then we go to our focused work. We're going to have undivided attention. We're going to be documenting our file in real time, updating the status without interruptions. Next slide, please. And this is really important. Sometimes we're just working so hard we don't really focus as well as we should. But the biggest problem is we get interrupted when we're working on something. If your paralegal sticks her head in the door, say, "I'm busy right now. I'll check in with you when I'm finished working on this file." If the phone rings, don't answer it. If an email comes through, don't look at it. When you're working on this file, I do not want you to be interrupted except for a true emergency. What we're doing this file, I'll make up hypothetical, takes 15 minutes. Whatever it is can wait 15 minutes. And I really recommend to my clients an open door, closed door system. I don't know how you do it in your office. Some of the doors are always open, some they're closed. But when you don't want to be interrupted, close your door. That's a signal to everybody who works in your office that I'm not being interrupted. And if you work at home, it's even easier. You don't have to worry about that. But when you work on this file, undivided attention, no emails, no calls, none of those infamous quick questions that end up taking 20 minutes. Document exactly what you're doing on the file in real time. Make a detailed time entry that not only says review documents for deposition, but is more detailed. Review the 421 pages produced by opposing counsel. Analyze the documents, 80 pages produced by our client. Look for items for questioning in detail at deposition, etc. Write a detailed note with your time. And then make sure you update the status of file as you work on it, and you will have quality focus that allows you to really work comprehensively on the file. Next slide, please. And the final part of the system is closing our file. Our final documentation, updating the system, mental reset, and transitioning to your next matter. Next slide, please. You know, we talked before about not being interrupted, and if you could put up our third poll, please. The one thing I've learned is that we look at email many too many times. I ask my clients, how many times do you look at email during the day? And they may say, I don't know, it's so many. I can't believe how many it is. I would suggest to you that you should look at your email no more than 4 times per day. For me, email became an addiction. I had to look at it. I had to look at it even when it wasn't important, even when I didn't have to. I couldn't help but look at it. And I find my clients look at it too much too. So I help them pick out the times a day they're going to look at it, usually 10, 12, 2:30, and 5. And if you can limit how many times you look at email, you'll be much better. The truth is that there's no critical time, no critical email that can't wait for 2 hours. Nothing comes through email that can't wait for 2 hours. All they are is a distraction. Now, they're all important. They're client questions, notes from the other attorney, etc. They all need to be answered, but they don't need to be answered right now. And when we allow ourselves to be interrupted, I mean, I've had people tell me they may look at their emails 5 and 6 times an hour, 40 times in a day. And that's because it's become, quite honestly, a bad habit. So in terms of closing our file, at the end of working on that file, make your final documentation in the file, update your system completely. And by that, I used a diary system. I'm sure we all do. When do you want to see the file next or work on it next, and for what purpose? You may have multiple entries of when you want to see the file next. And then the key is to mentally reset yourself. I like to tell people to remember, we used to actually have files we put in cabinets. Actually see yourself closing that file, putting it away. Take 15 seconds to take a deep breath, to mentally close that file and transition on to the next one. Next slide, please. The key of what we're trying to do is to find what your best time is to work and to really try to do that. A lot of things we do during the day that are not very productive. I would say 20% of our work is 80% of what's important. So try to handle your most important work before noon. If you have negotiations on the case, try to get them done earlier. Your legal analysis, that's your time when you're most productive. And what do we do about all those emails and phone calls I was telling you not to take? Well, I suggest you have a designated window when you do them. So for example, if you get to the office at 8:30 and you work on that file as part of the victory formula from 8:30 to 10, make real progress. Then from 10 to 11, return those emails that came in between 8:30 and 10. Answer them. Return the calls that came in that you didn't take. And you may feel terrible turning down a call when you're sitting at your desk, but the reality is they don't know that you're not in court or in a client meeting or whatever. And I have my clients train, my lawyers I coach, I train them to train their clients that the time when I return calls is between 10:30 and 11:30 in the morning and 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon. So if you call before then, I'm going to be working on your file or another client's file in a way that I'm focused and purposeful and intentional. And I will call you back as soon as I'm finished that. And they've learned to accept that and be happy with that. So return your emails and calls in piles all at once, not interrupting every time a call comes in and every time an email comes in. And in the afternoon, later in the day, do your administrative work, your routine work, and aligning your peak mental energy with the most important tasks will really dramatically improve both your quality and your efficiency. Next slide, please. So many of us are constantly available to our client, and we actually train our clients to expect that when they call, we'll answer, and to expect that when they send us an email, they'll get an immediate response. And we're the professionals, and we have a lot of clients we have to answer to. So I suggest that you train your clients that you have 2 focused communication periods during the day, typically at these times, 10:30, 11:30, 2:30 to 3:30. And you'll return calls then and return emails then. And I promise you that I will get back to you the same day you call or email me. I promise you that. And what does that do? That gives you 2 focused communication periods a day. You're getting 0 interruptions when you're doing your focused work. You've guaranteed to your clients a same-day response, and who's going to complain about that? And it works so much better because when you give them 2 focused communication periods, they understand it, and it's all those interruptions you're avoiding. It's a real benefit that you will appreciate when you realize you're not always getting interrupted when you're doing your work. And believe me, your clients will grow to appreciate it too. Your clients will love knowing when they will hear from you, and they will appreciate that when you're working on their file or other clients' file, you're really focused. Next slide, please. The next part of this that's important is to manage your energy. I don't know if any of you are sports fans. I know I am. And when my team is struggling on the basketball court, the coach takes the time out. He's trying to preserve their energy because they seem like they're falling behind. The same is true in football. Taking a timeout, calling the team over, give them some water, let them take a break, preserving themselves physically to stop the flood of advances by the other team that's coming at them. We have to protect our mental energy in the same way. And taking a strategic break really is not a luxury. And you may say, I don't have time to take a break. You don't know, Gary, you don't know how busy I am. What I do know is if you follow the system, you're going to be getting so much more done, partly because you're mentally so much more attentive and so much more focused and have such better energy. If you get worn out mentally, you don't perform at your best. Same as when an athlete gets worn out physically, he doesn't perform at his best. So when you're finished that major task, drafting that long contract, answering that motion for summary judgment, take a break, take a real break, a couple minutes. Take a break between what you're doing And when lunch comes, take a step away from your desk. Walk around, step outside. I really encourage you not to eat your lunch sitting at your desk, looking at your computer. Working through lunch is a terrible thing to do. You deserve that 20-minute break and you need it, even if it's just 20 minutes. Try not to read anything deep. And I really think it's better to move somewhere than sit at your desk and eat your lunch, even if you're reading the sports or the news. You'll find that when you do this, you have much better energy in the afternoon. You also find when you do it, you have more time to yourself at night. You know, what we used to do was powering through lunch and we work until we were exhausted. But instead, we're going to try to get a rhythm with some breaks that will allow us to keep our energy high and our mind sharp. Next slide, please. So this is what my target will be for you. This is what my target will be for you. 7.5 hours billable. Well, I don't know what your requirement is in your firm. I think you set your goal, how many hours you want billable. I trust you. Trust me, if you follow this system, you will achieve that easily. I went and met with the law firm in person and worked with the managing partner there. And he had this frustration of working so many hours and ended up with 2-3 hours. And I trained him on the system on one day and the next day we applied it. And he had 10.3 hours billed in about a 9-hour day. And he said it was the easiest day I've ever had. Trust me, it works. I'd like you to track 3 key metrics. And that would be if you responded to every client and how long it took, how many files you touched in a day, and how your energy levels were at the end of the day. Because you're going to find that even though you're not interrupting what you do to take your client calls, you're responding to them very promptly and they're very happy. You also find that you're getting a lot more done. You're getting to a lot more files during the day than you ever imagined possible. And you find that your energy of the day, you're more satisfied, you're happier. Next slide, please. So how do we make the system work? Gary, this seems like a whole lot of stuff that I've never done before. This is not how I work. How do we do this? So how do we make this work for us in real practice? Next slide, please. So this is what I would suggest you do. Today's Wednesday. Tonight, let's begin with tonight. Do the evening planning. Plan what you're going to do tomorrow. Make a purposeful decision before you leave your office today or finish working at home, whatever it might be, to spend 10 to 15 minutes planning exactly what you're going to do tomorrow and when. And then tomorrow, start tracking your time. Do that for the first week. The second week, we're going to start doing the morning victory. That is, we're going to add your biggest challenge first and try to get that done and continue with your tracking. At the end of those 2 weeks, you will know how you spend your time. There will be no surprises. You may find, you may be encouraged, you may not, but you'll learn from that. And when I review with my clients, we then adjust how they allocate their time to make it consistent with what their goals are. The third week, start doing the triangle system with the pre-work, focused work, and closure on your files, implementing all 3 phases, and then really focus on the process without interruption, making contemporaneous notes, diary entries for next time. And then in week 4, try blocking your time out and start doing the communication windows. So it's a lot to do at once. It's all new, it's all different, but use this time schedule to start implementing it over time. Next slide, please. Okay, so next question will be, Gary, what about when that emergency happens? This is all going to fall apart. I had my schedule, it fell apart. Well, I would encourage you to leave an hour or so for just those things. But if a true emergency happens, then handle it. That comes first. Understand, though, we sometimes call something an urgency that really isn't. Something that can certainly wait until tomorrow. But if it is a true emergency, then handle it. Get it done, and then go back to your planned work, working the way you intended. Often the emergency is we got some pleading in from the other side that bothers us, and it throws us off our game. We don't have to answer it today. We have to answer it tomorrow. We probably have 2 weeks or whatever under your rules to answer it. get it scheduled, give it to your associate to help, and then get back to your planned work. See, this system will bend, but it doesn't break, it doesn't fall apart, because things happen during the day and you can respond to them. The only thing I would urge you to do is not call everything an emergency, because it's not. So use this when you need it the most. Maintain the core structure of it. Adapt, but don't give up the system, and make adjustments to it as you need to. Next slide, please. So, does this system work? Well, I coach a lot of lawyers, and I work with them bi-weekly to help them integrate the system. And this is what I've seen typically, that their billable hours increased by 150%. If they were billing 5 hours a day, maybe now they're billing 8. They admit that their stress level is so much less. They're so much more relaxed. They feel in charge, purposeful, and intentional. But the most impressive thing is their clients are happy, because they know they have their attention when they're speaking to them on the phone, and they know when they're working on their file, they're really focused on it. You'll find also that you reclaim your time in the evenings, because you've gotten so much more done during the day. You can go home and truly relax. You will capture that hidden billable time, those hours that you didn't remember working on. I've seen so many lawyers take a phone call and then answer an email and then take a phone call, and they don't make any entries in the system, and none of it is purposeful. And those times are just lost. You also discover incredible improvements in the quality of your work. You're getting more done in less time. You're clear-minded, you're sharp, and the work is good. And because you're planning what you're doing and you're countering your files well, you'll truly have peace of mind. There will be a time for every file. Every task will be done in the right order. And then you'll have an opportunity for professional growth. The things we often can't get to. I don't know how many lawyers I talk to, so I'd love to work with you, but I don't have the time. I say, that's exactly the problem. And that's something I can help with. Next slide, please. The most amazing thing is how the system will affect your clients. They will be so much happier with you, because you'll show up in a different way. You'll be fresh, you'll be focused, you'll be purposeful, and they'll be very happy with how you respond to them. They'll notice your prompt, focused attention, that the quality of your work is better, that they like the clear communication windows, because they know they are going to hear back from you and when, and that you're really reliable. And what's going to happen is they're going to trust you more. They're going to send you more work. They're going to refer you to other clients. The outcomes of your case will be better. Your reputation will be better, and your staff will respond to you better. You know, when you're not constantly distracted, your clients will receive the full benefit of your expertise and attention. And that's really important. When you're not constantly distracted, your clients receive the full benefit of your expertise and your attention. Next slide, please. So let's talk about next steps. If you're open to giving this a try, this is what I suggest. Your homework for tonight is, before you go to bed, leave office, spend 15 minutes planning tomorrow. Write down your 3 most important tasks, the 3 that you just need to get done and haven't yet, and commit to tackling the biggest one first. So today I want you to commit to the evening planning. Tomorrow, when you start your day, start with that biggest challenge. This week, track everything you do, and next week begin the triangle system, because those small, consistent actions, honestly, will compound into transformational results. Next slide, please. I'm sure some of you feel really overwhelmed and stressed. I talk to a lot of lawyers and speak to lawyers groups. I've seen that a lot. That's a common, I don't have enough time, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm stressed. So the choice is really yours. 6 months from now, you could be doing what you're doing now. The same productivity struggles, the same stress levels, the same feeling of being completely overwhelmed by your practice. That's a choice. The other option is you could be the lawyer who consistently hits your billable targets. You serve your clients exceptionally, and you're starting to enjoy practicing law again. The choice and the tools are yours. My only question for you is, are you willing to take that action and to give this a try? Next slide, please. So these are the key takeaways from today's presentation. The first is our philosophy of productivity is we're going to work more deliberately, more purposely, more intentionally. We'll plan our day, and we're not going to be reacting to every circumstance that presents it during the day. We're going to see the power of actually tracking how we spend our time during the day. We'll see opportunities where we could save time. We're going to see things that we should have built but didn't. The triangle system creates very sustainable, focused workflows with good diary notes, good entry notes in the system, and implementing it gradually will allow you to progress step by step. And this really works in the real world, trust me, because my clients use it and they love it. Next slide, please. So here's my contact information. I practiced law for 45 years, and I'm passionate about helping you have a better, more successful, happier career. I've worked for a long time for lawyers under stress. I chair the Lawyer Assistance Program in my area, Maryland, for 20 years. And I really want you to have the happiness, joy, and fulfillment that you deserve in your practice. Any of you are welcome to reach out to me at gary@garymiles.net or check out my website at garymiles.net. I do have a podcast called The Free Lawyer. I'm up to episode 340 or something. Mondays, I have a solo episode where I share some tips for you. And then Thursday, I'll have a guest. So you may want to check that out. And there's my book, Breaking Free, where I talk about the 12 main obstacles of the mind and the 12 keys to unlock those prisons. So thank you all for being with us today. I hope you found this helpful. Happy to address your questions now. Thank you.
And Gary, we do have several questions here. Glad to lead the Q&A session together. So to begin with, and Gary, great presentation. Sure, everyone feels a lot of value add and some action items and homework going forward. We've got a question. How do you get buy-in from the boss or your boss at home, husband, children on the no interruptions? It's hard to feel like you're not letting people down, for example.
That can be a difficult thing, honestly. And I would encourage that you, whoever the boss is, your managing partner, your managing attorney, talk to them about what you're trying to do and why. Talk to them about how if he or she lets you give this a try, you're going to have more billable time than you've had before. You're going to have better work for your clients, and you'll find all the time he or she needs for you to chat about whatever file it is, but that you really would like to focus on your work because you'll do better work in less time and capture more billable time for your clients. And it's hard to imagine if it's presented to your manager correctly that he or she's going to say, no, I wouldn't interrupt you. I want you to get less done, not as well. So what I've seen with my clients is that their firms are very, very receptive to this.
Great. And we know you touched a little bit upon this, but oftentimes, calling back the same day is not always possible with everything going on. And are there any other ways that you can actually kind of train your clients when those items, might interfere with your regular call schedule?
There are times, I've tried cases. I was a trial lawyer. I'd be in the courtroom for 5 days in a row. If that's the case where you can't, for some reason, have your paralegal, your legal assistant, or someone make a call on your behalf and say, thank you for your call to Gary. He's gotten your message. He's out of town at a deposition. He's not able to return your call today, but I'll bring it to him first thing in the morning or first thing on Friday when he gets back to the office. And is there any other message you'd like me to convey to him? And clients are happy to get a call back from someone, even if not you, and to know when it is that you'll be able to call back.
Yeah. And that, Gary, also speaks to another question that we have similarly when, you called someone, they've called you back, but you're kind of playing phone tag. You understand the call is necessary, but also that it would be an interruption. So similar suggestions there?
Well, I guess if it's been 5 times with calls back and forth and you have to interrupt, then maybe do. But that's the infrequent call, honestly. That's the one where you play telephone tag 3 or 4 times. So if you want to allow an interruption for that, do. But the key is to limit the interruptions. If you're looking at your emails multiple times in an hour and starting to answer them multiple times in an hour, that's what makes your work disrupted.
Yeah. And then with regards to any attorneys who might be working flat fees, not necessarily billable hours, any additional insights there or suggestions?
Well, first, I compliment you for doing that. I think that's what our industry is moving to, because a billable hour system creates a lot of stress between law firm and lawyer and between law firm and client. The only part of this that is different is recording your time. You still want to make entries in your system so you know what you've done. That's the only thing that's different. You won't, your billable times aren't being tracked, so seeing them go up is not a benefit to you. But what you will see is you'll be getting so much work done, more work done. You'll be more productive, you'll be more efficient, and your clients will be happier. So it works just as well for those who don't bill time.
Great.
Gary,
any
sorry to interrupt, Martin. There's a question about a case file management software system. Do you have one that you prefer over others?
I do not. There are a lot of good ones. They all kind of overlap. Whether it's Clio or MyCase or Abacus, I do not have one that I prefer. I think they all are amazing tools. The problem is that we don't use them well enough. I know the attorneys in my office, I had such a hard time getting them to make notes and getting them to link emails and getting them to record time. Whichever one you're using, I would say make sure you're fully trained about all it can do for you. And if you follow that triangle system of making those contemporaneous notes and billable time entries and changing your diary for when you want to look at the file again, it'll work for you just fine.
Gary, with regards to recommendations, look, many of us are working in teams. How do we encourage our teams of associate attorneys that may also be struggling to implement this type of structure and behavior for themselves? What would you suggest there?
Well, if you have a team and you'd like me to present this to a team at your firm, I'd be happy to. That could be easily arranged. But if not, start using it first and see how it works for you. It's honestly, when you think about it, it's pretty darn easy to understand. It's nothing about it's complicated or difficult. And then you can train your team on how to do it. But I'm always happy to support you in that if I can.
Thank you, Gary. And then is it as simple as just tracking time in a notebook, pen and paper, old school, or would you be using some type of software, billing software, separately?
The first, I have a form that I use with my clients I can share with you, but it's very simple. It's nothing more than a grid with 15-minute blocks and the matter and what you did or what you were doing and why. And so it's very, very easy. But all you need is a pad of paper and a pen. And you don't need to do it forever, but those 2 weeks will be so illuminating to you. And I think some people feel it's intrusive. Some people feel it's petty. I think what really is going on is people are a little afraid to use it because they're afraid of what it will reveal. But the honest truth is you will learn so much from it. And with my clients, when we start working together, I do it with them. And then we actually sit down and analyze it, figure out how can we change how we spend our time to be more productive.
Gary, a couple of highlights here, perhaps suggestions or recommendations. We've got attendees suggesting that this type of coaching should be mandatory in law school. So do you have any, insights, any wishes to start a professorship of sorts there?
Well, I imagine time management and productivity would be helpful in law school, but It's probably sort of premature because they're not in a world where they have file assignments and clients calling and emailing. And, what I talked about today is really particularly helpful to associates because they come in with such an energy to please, where they just want to say yes. And we think we're being a great lawyer if we answer every phone call and answer every email right away. And the reality is it doesn't make us a great lawyer. It makes us an inefficient lawyer. So training associates in a firm, and again, if you're in a firm and you'd like me to help with that, just let me know. I'm glad to talk to you about it.
Great. With regards to specific softwares that are available, any comments on software like WealthSource that could possibly help save time?
I'm not familiar with that software. I think if you use your case management system, that's probably more than adequate. And in terms of time tracking, you could use whatever system you want. But honestly, if you just keep it on a grid you create of how you spend your time, that will reveal everything you need to know.
Yeah. Okay. And then any type of advice, Gary, on, that part of our timing when maybe we've realized we've bitten off a little bit more than we can chew there. And in terms of case management systems, some refer to that maybe as a file management program, but any differences there?
I'm not sure that I understand the question exactly, biting off more than we can chew. But
maybe when we're trying to do too much for too many different areas, how do you prioritize there when you've got to let some things go possibly?
Well, I think in terms of, this is a slightly different area, but I do think setting boundaries with clients is important. Also, setting boundaries with who we represent is important. We feel driven sometimes to bring in as many cases as we can, to build up our book of business, to bring in more money. And there are times we just do bite off more than we can chew, or we represent the person who's an energy drain. And last 15 years of my career, I did family law. My only rule I had, I'd represent the person who committed adultery, the person who left the marriage. I wouldn't represent a jerk. And if the person was someone who's never going to be happy, always blaming, always a victim, not listening to advice, that was a person I would not represent. So in terms of handling the work you have, this works very well. If you started to take on too much work or you're given too much work, there are ways to set boundaries with your boss, your partner, your manager too. Say, I have this file to do for Martin, I have this file to do for Justin, and you've given me this, and each of those will take about this amount of time, and I'm not sure which is most important or which I should do first. Can you three give me some guidance so that they know what all you have? Or I can't get it to it this week. Is next week okay? Or I can't get it to it this week or next. Is there another associate who could help? Because I have these two projects for Martin and Justin that are a lot for me to do.
And in that sense, Gary, for those of us, practicing in a solo practice, when prospective clients email, we're not able to get back to them right away. They might go to others. And so any suggestions there on how to handle that for any solo practices?
Yeah, I help my clients set up intake systems. And what I would suggest is that someone from your firm, not you, call the person back right away, interview them for 10, 15 minutes, get the basic facts, name, address, phone number, what the nature of the matter is, what they're looking for, their goal, and you review that. And she could say, the attorney will call you, Gary will call you back after he's had a chance to review what we talked about, and you'll hear from him today. And then I look at the notes, and you've saved me time. I have to spend those 15, 20 minutes chatting with the clients. You've already gotten that information. I call the person back, or I may say, see, it's obviously nothing we can handle. It's not our kind of case. It's not something I have the space for. And I'll say, have her call back and say, we're not able to help you on that, but we have another lawyer we recommend to you. But there is no call more important than the prospective client. It's just that I have one lawyer I worked with. He was spending 10 or 11 hours a day on intake. And at $400 an hour, we could have built him a whole 10-person department with that revenue he was losing by doing so much time on intake. So use your staff to make the first call. You choose who you want to follow up with and then call them back.
And Gary, a lot of great questions today. I know we're coming up on time, but just last couple of questions. When closing a case for the day, where do you put your next task? And any modifications for transactional attorneys?
No modifications for transaction. All of it works exactly the same, whether you do litigation or transaction. In terms of each case management system has a calendaring or diary option or task setting. So when you're finished working on that file, go to wherever it is in your system and note down what date you want to look at the file again and for what purpose. What are you trying to do? If you sent the documents to your client and you want to hear back from them with their comments, put it down for a week, whatever time frame you want. Contact client about reaction to drafted contract. And then you'll look at the file then and send them an email or a call to find out what the status is.
Justin?
Yeah, I think, do we have time for one more question? So we do have a lot of questions that have gone unanswered. We will make sure that all these questions get back to Gary, and we'll be in contact with you to hopefully address all these questions. But do we have time for one more question?
Yes.
Yeah, we did see. So to recap, Gary, as far as a preferred method or an app or a program for tracking everything every single day, and we know it's odd to track coffee breaks, but any final thoughts?
In terms of your time tracking, you can use anything you want. There's no preferred. Pen and paper are just fine. And do track down the coffee breaks, because sometimes you go down to the break room and you see Justin and you spend half an hour talking about the football game on Sunday. And that may be okay, but just know that that's how you're spending your time, which right now you might not think about.
Well, thanks again, Gary. This has been a real pleasure. And this is a first of the kind that we've done. And Martin, of course, co-hosting this with me. It's been excellent. If you are looking at currently reviewing your retirement plan or starting a new one, take a look at our website, www.abaretirement.com. And once again, all these slides will the recording and slides will be made available to you in about a couple of days. But once again, Martin and Gary, thanks so much for helping put this together. Really appreciate your time.